In last video, we have discussed about Jupiter in the 10th house of the horoscope. In this video, we are going to talk about what happens when Saturn, yes, Saturn is into the 10th house of your horoscope. So keep watching. Namaste and welcome to Pramanik Astrology channel. I'm your host Prasad Mahazani. Help you raise your vibrations and become your true self with the help of Vedic Astrology. If you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing. You'll be getting Vedic astrological videos just like this one. And these videos will help you go further, faster into Vedic astrological studies. If you have any question, add me on Instagram at Pramanik Astrology. Or you can add your questions on YouTube relevant videos YouTube comment section. I read all the comments and I reply to almost all the comments. And if you want me to take you through your chart as a tutorial, you can go and check out the link into the description section and go for the intensive horoscope analysis. Saturn in the 10th house of the horoscope. What is Saturn? The first thing which comes to my mind when I think of Saturn is negativity, scarcity and lack. Saturn is polar opposite of the Jupiter. Jupiter is abundance, Saturn is scarcity. Jupiter is optimism, Saturn is pessimism and negativity. Jupiter is all about the wisdom, higher belief and things beyond this realm. Saturn is the most practical planet. Saturn is a hard-working planet. Saturn likes to work hard. Saturn is an intelligent guy. Saturn has greatest of the analytical mind because the air element is ruled by Saturn, which is all about the intelligence. Saturn is also the significator for the work. Saturn signifies the masses. Saturn signifies subordinates. Saturn signifies death, aging, restriction, disabilities. All these things can be seen with Saturn. Saturn is also the karaka of the work and career. Saturn represents time. That's why Saturn represents death as well. And that's the way of Saturn to restrict you. Now this Saturn comes into the 10th house. What is 10th house? 10th house is one of the most important Kendra houses. It is one of the important Upachaya houses along with 3, 6, 10 and 11. Upachaya houses are the houses which grows with time. Any planet situated into the Upachaya houses gives good result over the period of time. And Saturn loves delays anyways. So if you have Saturn in any of the Upachaya houses, be it 3, 6, 10 or 11, it tends to give that great result. We are talking about the 10th house today. What is 10th house? 10th house is an open sky. 10th house is your public life. 10th house is the house of your work. 10th house is the house of your highest material achievement in this material world. 10th house is the house which signifies your status, your work, authority, power, fame. 10th house signifies the zenith in the sky. Kendra houses, that is house number 1, 4, 7 and 10 are the foundation of your horoscope. First house is the house at the eastern horizon. 7th house is west horizon. 4th house is netter. It's the night time. It's the place below your feet. And 10th house is wide open. If you have any planet into the 10th house, those planets become visible in the sky. Just take an example of the sun. Just see when the sun is visible, bright, right above your head and see the timing in your chart. Just cast the horoscope for that timing and you will see that sun is into the 10th house. Now what happens when Saturn comes into the 10th house of the horoscope? What is 10th house? 10th house is the house of work. The planet of work and hard work comes into the house of your career. So these people are constantly working. These people does not have fatigue. They keep on working relentlessly until they reach their goal, until they achieve what they have decided to achieve. They are unstoppable. Saturn in the 10th house is one of the suitable positions for Saturn for this signification. Saturn loves to work. The planet of intelligence comes into the house of your authority and public life. So these people are intelligent when it comes to taking decision in their work areas. They are extremely intelligent and aware of where they are heading and what they are doing. So they always end up getting and taking the good decisions in their professional sphere of life, and that makes them successful in the life. The planet of justice comes into the house of work. Now these people have the ability to understand what is right and what is wrong. The person with the 10th house Saturn is into the authority position, and when he is into the authority position, he has the conviction about what is right and what is wrong, and that really helps him to grow into the career. The slowest moving planet comes into the house of your career and fame and your authority. When Saturn comes into the 10th house, things move slowly at work front, but you will always see that steady growth in the career. The planet of the shy nature comes into the public life. So Saturn feels uncomfortable in the 10th house for this significations. Have you noticed the shy celebrities? They are not very willing to talk about themselves, or they are not much into giving interviews, or they like to keep themselves private. So Saturn loves to be private, and 10th house is the house of public speaking. They are always working, and their hard work gives them success and fame, but they don't like it unless they have a very good Jupiter or Venus, which can really appreciate the public love and can really understand the public life. They have a hard time dealing with the public. They only interested into working hard onto their subject. That's it. They don't want fame. When Saturn is into the 10th house, it aspects the three houses. Saturn has three special aspects. Saturn can aspect 3 places away from it, 7 places away from it, and 10 places away from it. And we have to count the place Saturn is placed in. In our example, Saturn is placed into the 10th house. So we are always going to count the 10th house as 1. Let's count it. Let's talk about the third aspect of the Saturn. Let's see where you will have third aspect of Saturn when it is placed into the 10th house. So we'll count the 10th house, 10, 11, and 12. So Saturn will aspect the 12th house from the 10th house with its third aspect. What is the 12th house? 12th house is the house of losses. 12th house is the house of foreign things. 12th house is the house of spirituality. 12th house is the house of the longest journeys. And when Saturn is aspecting the 12th house, more so 12th house is also the house of privacy or bed pleasures. When Saturn aspects the 12th house, it delays all these significations. So these people have a hard time getting the private time for themselves. And you will understand why. Because they are working constantly. So they don't have time, they don't have a private time. They are working hard in a public life, so they don't have the private time for themselves. So Saturn delays the private time. Saturn delays the 12th house of losses. Saturn delays the foreign travel. But if you travel, it will prolong your stay into the foreign countries. And Saturn has a third aspect. The third aspect has the element of third house, which is what? Which is the house of self effort. So these people have to put in the self effort to the 12th house areas. So they have to take time for themselves, be it for meditation or be it for themselves, but they have to take an effort. Otherwise, they are constantly busy into the 10th house working, and they are not going to get the 12th house, the private time for themselves. From the 10th house, Saturn aspects the 4th house of the horoscope. Now, again, any planet into the 10th house connects the mother and father. So it very much impacts your relationship with the parent. The planet of discipline and responsibility is aspecting your 4th house. 4th house is a very private environment. Saturn loves to be into the private environment, but what it shows is this person will have disciplined parents. Why parents? Because Saturn itself is placed into the 10th house of father, and now it is aspecting the 4th house of the mother. So these people have a very strict environment into their initial life. Like their father will be strict, their mother will be strict. So the parents can be disciplined and demanding. Like you have to do this, you have to follow, and that becomes a burden. From the 10th house, Saturn aspects the 7th house of the horoscope with the 10th house aspect. What is the 7th house? 7th house is the house of your relationship. 7th house is about the marriage. 7th house is about the marriage relationship, business relationship. It is the relationship with the other people. Now, Saturn is aspecting the 7th house of the horoscope, and wherever Saturn aspects, it kind of delays the things, or it kind of brings in the responsibility about that area of life. Now it is aspecting the 7th house. In the 10th house, Saturn pretty much impacts the Kendra house. It is into the 10th house, it is aspecting the 4th house. Now it is also aspecting the 7th house. So 3 out of the 4 Kendra houses, Saturn is influencing it. Okay, by placement and aspects. We have not considered the conjunction. If Lagna Lord is also conjunct into the 10th house, things will be even more intense for this person. But let's talk about the effect of Saturn's aspect onto the 10th house. So this will, first it will delay the marriage, and it will give you the mature and old spouse. Okay, so this person, the person with the 10th house Saturn, will have a spouse who is extremely dutiful, who is extremely responsible in his or her action, and who is very mature. But this placement delays the marriage. You can have relationship. I have seen people who are engaged or are into relationship maybe from 22nd years of age or 22nd 23rd year, and they got married at around 29 or 30. That is also possible, but this placement delays the marriage for sure. But this is not the only component to delay the marriage. There are many other cancelling effects and a lot of things we have to consider. So don't just come to the conclusion that it will delay the marriage. But yes, if you just talk about this placement will delay the marriage if it does not have any other cancellation or any other effect which will. So yes, if we are just talking about this placement, yes, it will delay it. You have to look for the cancellation of that. Okay, so yes, what if this Saturn is debilitated into the 10th house? Saturn gets the strength into the 10th house, and when it gets debilitated, it rules the 7th house and the 8th house. So the Lord of the 7th house and the 8th house into the 10th house. Okay. So first thing you have to do is you have to look for the Rashi of Saturn in the Navamansha. Whether it is into the Libra, Capricorn, Aquarius, that you have to look. Also, you have to look for the dignity of Mars in your chart, because Saturn is into the sign of Mars. So it is like Saturn is living in the house of Mars. So Saturn is a tenant and Mars is the ruler. Okay, so you have to look for the Mars. And what if you have Saturn exalted into the 10th house? When Saturn gets exalted, it rules the first and the second house of the horoscope. Now the ascendant and the house of finance is coming into the 10th house of the horoscope. It makes the person workaholic, and it helps the person to rise into their career. Okay, but you also have to look for the placement of Venus, because now Saturn is living into the house of Venus. But don't just come to the conclusion with this. There are many more things to it. Like you will have to look for the Shatbala, you will have to look for the Dashas and Nakshatras, Pada, and many more things to look for before we come to the conclusion. So don't come to the conclusion with just one element, no matter how profound it seems. So yes, this was Saturn in the 10th house, as much as I could hold, grasp, and share with you guys. What to watch next if you are new to Vedic astrology? Go to my YouTube videos and playlist section, watch how to get started into Vedic astrology or Ascendant series, or just start browsing any of the playlist to start exploring the fascinating world of Vedic astrology. Sending you tons of positive energy, sending you high vibrations. See you in the next videos. Love and peace.